first, what I'm about to say may sound quite ordinary, perhaps even boring. You've probably heard these things countless times before, especially on social media, where thousands of videos repeat the same warnings over and over again. But stay with me, because my goal is not to repeat what everyone already knows, but to reveal what we don't see, what we see but fail to understand, and what we understand but refuse to act upon. By the end of this video, I believe you'll look at many things in your life differently, or at least, you'll gain a clearer perspective on some hidden truths. When I asked an artificial intelligence about humanity's biggest problems, it gave me these 5 familiar answers. Consumer culture and waste, the silent cry of nature, the climate crisis, war and inequality, information manipulation and media control, emotional numbness and lack of empathy. Yes, you've heard all of this before. It's nothing new. And since AI is ultimately a reflection of human thought and behavior, we shouldn't expect a radically different perspective from it. But here's the paradox. Those who warn us about these problems are often the very ones who sustain them. They say, the planet is dying, yet they continue to profit from the very systems that destroy it. They say, war is evil, while building and selling the weapons that make it possible. This is how truth becomes a tool of legitimization. It's like cigarette companies printing grotesque images on their products, fully aware that they hardly change consumer behavior. They acknowledge the problem, but continue to profit from it. So if we really want to understand what's happening, we need to look beyond the surface, because the roots of these problems lie deeper, hidden within global structures that most people never see. Let's now look at a few of these hidden realities. Perhaps you'll see some familiar issues in a completely new light. The United States and European countries export huge amounts of weapons and defense equipment to some of the poorest places in the world. Regions like the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. These exports power continuing conflicts, unrest, and suffering, though they also prop up the economies of countries that sell them. The arms industries in most Western countries are still one of the main supports for their wealth and international power. The arms industry is one of the foundations of wealth and power in most Western countries. Yet when refugees, fleeing wars fueled by those very weapons, arrive at Western borders, they are often greeted not with compassion, but with suspicion. It's easy to dismiss them as outsiders, burdens, or even threats when they are marginalized and dehumanized. It reveals a deep hypocrisy in the West's professed humanitarian values and the underlying politics and economics. It's often cloaked in religious and ideological language, but behind the scenes, the motives are driven by geopolitical ambitions and control of the world's resources. When we look at the justification for wars in the modern world, radical groups such as Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS, each at different times were heavily influenced, financed, and armed by Western powers, who essentially used them as pawns in the game of politics and profit, until they became a threat to them and are now fighting against them. Well known is the pattern of wars serving those with power, and the people who don't have any are the ones who pay the price. We are told that drug cartels are the main problem, but the reality is more complex. Large-scale trafficking often happens through state-controlled or state-protected channels. Cocaine from Colombia, heroin traveling the Afghanistan-Iran-Turkey route, often transported using military or diplomatic networks. The so-called war on drugs is frequently nothing more than a smokescreen, while the real beneficiaries remain hidden. Thousands of people from Africa and the Middle East lose their lives crossing seas or languish in camps under inhumane conditions. They're portrayed as troublemakers or invaders, but in truth, they are victims of a global system that has exploited their lands for centuries. Through colonialism, resource extraction, and economic dependency. Their migration is not random. It is the direct consequence of historical and structural injustice. Citizens are urged to save energy, reduce CO2, recycle, consume less. But while individuals are told to take responsibility, governments and corporations produce vastly greater pollution. Just one day of flights from major European airports emits more CO2 than thousands of people do in an entire year. Military operations and industrial complexes generate environmental damage that no personal effort can balance. The core issue is not individual behavior, it's the economic system itself. These truths are not secret. They are known, but rarely confronted in their true context. We have become desensitized to the obvious and blind to the underlying causes. Even the systems that claim to wake us up often keep us asleep. To recognize the truth, we must learn to look deeper and question what is shown to us. Because often, the real truth isn't hidden. It's standing right in front of us, shouting so loudly that we no longer hear it.